Good day, and welcome to Basic Folk, where we have honest conversations with folk musicians. I am Lizzie No, and I'm here with host Cindy Howes. How are you, Cindy?
I've been watching a lot of Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I'm watching the season, the newest season, where Larry has to hire this like terrible actress named Sophia Maria for his TV show he's working on, and her acting sounds exactly like your intro.
I have no idea what you mean, Cindy.
So the only difference is that she would make one of the lines sound really sultry.
What do you mean, sultry?
Yep, that's it. You got it.
I was watching Looney Tunes the other day. My stepchildren have never seen Looney Tunes. We watched Looney Tunes for the first time. And Larry David is kind of just like the live action Bugs Bunny.
Oh, really?
He kind of just stirs shit up. And there's like weird situations, but they're always relatable. And it's all plot based. Like it's all just like, okay, this thing happens. And then as a result, this and that and that and that. It's just like logic and game theory.
Huh. I would love to hear what Larry David has to say about Bugs Bunny.
Let's get him on the pod.
Okay. Oh my God. That would be so great. Basic Folk is a podcast on the Bluegrass Situation Podcast Network. You can sign up for our newsletter, which I usually remember to send every month. Sign up for that at basicfolk.com. You can also follow us on social media at basicfolkpod, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, no TikTok. You can also make a financial contribution and support us at our website, basicfolk.com. There you can click on the donate button. Send us $5 a month because you like us. If you'd like a little thank you gift, you can go to the shop. Send us $5 a month, and we'll send you a handmade Basic Folk beanie that are made by Patricia Howes.
They're so cute.
She's my mom.
Something that I've just gotten into, and I feel like I'm the last person on earth who has not read this book already. I am reading Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. Hot damn, what a great book.
Really?
It is so good. It is so good, Cindy. And everyone's like, yeah, it's the best sci-fi book ever. But I feel like I'm in a season of life where sci-fi is really like on my mind and I'm interested in it. I read Dune last year and then I was like, you know what? Sign me up for more sci-fi. Yeah. Everyone should read this book. It is like, I think the cliche thing to say about it is that it's so weirdly prophetic about like what is going on in the world now. And the setting of the book is in 2024, which was like a, not so distant future when it was written. So this is the perfect time to read Parable of the Sower.
Did she write it in like the 70s or the 80s?
I think it came out in the early 90s.
Okay. I read her book Kindred on my honeymoon last year, and it was disturbing.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I think I've seen descriptions of that show, and I don't even actually want to share my reaction. Skip over it.
Hard parts. Hard parts. We want to give a shout out to our Lord and Savior Rhiannon Giddens, who just announced that, well, at the time that this comes out, it'll be like 2 weeks out that she's announced her new album, You're the One. It's coming out August 18th. The same day that this lady won the Pulitzer Prize for music.
She won the gosh darn Pulitzer, as she should.
Have you heard her new song?
No, I haven't.
Oh, wow. I'm so excited. So this new album, it's all original songs, which is a new thing for Rhiannon. The title track is out. You're the One is what it's called. And it makes me like want to do cartwheels. It's so fun.
I'm so excited to listen. I'm going to listen as soon as we're done recording. Mother's Day is coming up at the time that this episode comes out.
Yes, it would have passed.
It will have passed, but at the time of recording, it's coming up. And I am very proud of the little arrangement that we've come up with in my family, where there are 4 parents, 2 of whom are non-binary, including me. We have come up with an alt Mother's Day, which is called Lizzie Day. It's the night before Mother's Day. We are going to a monster truck rally with some queer friends and the kids. And I just feel that that is the perfect way to celebrate the role that I play in these children's lives.
All I think of when you said monster trucks was, wow, the lighting is going to be terrible and everybody needs ear protection.
Yes, we should bring earplugs and open hearts. I'm ready to be wowed.
What else? Should we get to our guest?
Yeah, let's talk about our guest. Our guest today is a friend of mine and an artist who I think is the New York music scene's best kept secret. His name is Matt Sucich. There's so much to say about Matt Sucich, but what I want to open your eyes to is this. Lately, in my experience of being a host on Basic Folk, I've noticed that I'm really drawn to artists who are not only doing interesting things in their music, but are also kind of changing the how we share music and how we experience music as fans. Matt Sucich is one of these artists. I first noticed his live streams a couple of years ago. He has like such a dedicated following on his live streams, and I like just kind of caught sight of this out of the corner of my eye on the internet. And I was like, there's something special going on here. This is a person who is creating community with their work and is really intentionally inviting their fans into a shared space of trust and openness. And the more I've gotten to know his work, the more it kind of like is adding up to, this is a person who like really takes their audience seriously. And I've learned a lot from him from following his career. His album, Don't Be So Hard on Yourself, is like such an amazing pandemic album that I think everyone needs to listen to. But we mostly talked about his new record, Holy Smokes, which is out now on Five and Dime Records. It's a beautiful album. It features some vocals from Kathleen Edwards, who I'm a huge fan of and who Matt has toured with a lot. We talk a lot about humor in this episode because I think Matt's really funny and he brings puppets and comedians along for the ride in his live shows. And we got to talk about Muppets and, you know, day jobs and love and life. You're really going to enjoy the episode. And I think if you don't know his music already, you really need to.
We'll take a listen to a song from his new album. This is Give Love. And then we'll get to our conversation with Matt Sucich and Lizzie No on Basic Folk.
What are you worried about? Listen to the waves, there's no better sound. And keep your feet on the ground. What are you worried about? What does it matter where we go? I get the feeling that we'll never know. It's better just to let it go. It's best to leave it alone. But ooh, give love and be kind and peace may find you. Ooh, give a little love and you'll receive. But you can get lost inside of your mind and have yourself an existential crisis. Yeah, open up a bottle of wine and get lost inside of your mind. Or think about a past life. Oh, who had the last laugh? What was your life like? Did you have a husband or a wife? Or did you die alone? Ooh, give love and be kind and peace may find you. Ooh, give a little love and you'll receive. Give love and be kind and peace may find you. Ooh, giving love can set you free.
Matt Sucich, welcome to Basic Folk.
Thank you, Lizzie.
We don't have time for pleasantries. Who is the funniest person you know?
The funniest person I know?
Mm-hmm. In real life.
Oh, man. I shouldn't be thinking about it this long, but Mike DeCenzo probably does it for me.
What makes Mike the funniest person you know?
We have a very similar sense of humor, and we've just done some silly things together. And so, you know, you build a history with someone, and I think that informs what makes you laugh. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, like, apart from, like, of course, you get your popular comedians who can tell jokes and make you laugh, but then you build a personal history with someone, and then you have all these inside jokes that also add to that. So on top of, like, the normal funny, there's the personal funny. So there's all these kind of things.
Interesting. Wait, so if that, I think like that definition of humor or that way of relating to humor kind of means that over time things get funnier because the more context you have and the more layers of reference you have, the funnier it is.
Absolutely.
What made you laugh a lot as a kid? Like what grabbed your attention? What delighted you?
My dad laughing. So I always think about the things that made him laugh. And then...
like what?
Like Monty Python.
Yeah.
So at a young age, it was a lot of Monty Python. There was a lot of Naked Gun, like Leslie Nielsen movies, Airplane and such.
I love Airplane so much.
Yeah.
I think it might be the funniest movie ever made.
Yeah, it's one of them. Those are the...
It's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Right. Exactly. And the left turns of comedy are like my favorite things about that. And also the Muppets. You know, like, I mean, I'm a huge Muppet fan.
Where did that start? What are your earliest memories of the Muppets? Like, was that like like a daily watching the Muppets as a kid type thing?
I have more of a memory of Muppet Babies, the cartoon, right? I just think that's a generational thing. The Muppet Show was probably done and, you know, it was dated by the time I was growing up with memory. So it was probably repeats of that.
Oh, you know what? I was
movies,
conflating Muppets and Sesame Street.
Sure.
Not
And that's
the
the
same.
thing. But
Yeah.
you know what? They're very similar.
Yeah.
And the Sesame Street is probably the introduction to like the puppets, you know what I
Yes.
mean? Like fully. And I think the Muppet movies were very much in my life, that kind of thing. And then like this, you know, my closest friend growing up, again, goes back to that comedy thing too. It's like you have all this personal relationship. So because he was so close to the Muppets, I was by default close to the Muppets.
Yes.
And so all of my love of the movies came from just hanging out with my friend Scott.
Got it.
And like constantly quoting them, you know? And it's almost one of those things where like, oh, I feel like I've seen this movie and I haven't seen it. Because I know all of the major...
Oh,
you know what I
it
mean?
was a planted memory.
Right. And I mean, obviously I've seen the movies, but at the time, I think a lot of it had to do with just constantly quoting it around my friend.
Do you feel like that relational sense of aesthetics impacts how you relate to your audience now? I have a hunch, but I'd like to hear you say your thoughts.
Yes. I think Mystique is gone. I think anybody who can pull off Mystique these days is a wizard. And I'm impressed by it. And I've always been impressed by it no matter what.
Who do you have examples of people you find mysterious or like artists you find mysterious?
Current artists? No. But I think like somebody when I was impressionable and new at music in my early 20s, some people like Jim James, you know, I think he has a very mysterious way about him, and I was just, you know, dumbstruck by it. I'm in awe of that kind of thing.
And I think that's real. Every time I run into him, he seems like the most mysterious.
Yeah, but he does a really
ever.
good job of being he does a really good job of being personable and pleasant. When I say mysterious, I mean almost, you know, and obviously it's such a unique example, but like a Dylan-esque mystique it will never happen again.
It's over. And
Yeah.
why is that?
Well, just because of social media and I think all that stuff. So like you're going to deal with people giving way too much information about themselves, whether they are trying to or not.
Yes.
You know, you're still able to find out so much about these people that you adore so easily. And I think as much as I wanted that, going to concerts and enjoying music at an impressionable age, I was always wildly impressed with the bands that it bordered on rude, but like the bands that didn't say anything to the audience. I'm always so impressed by that because I have a lot to say. And I'm not necessarily giving my life story on stage, but like I love to banter in between.
Yeah.
And I don't think I do it to an annoying degree, but I definitely don't do it to such a calm state where like you're just saying hello between every fifth song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's some next level restraint that I don't want it anymore. Once upon a time I did.
Okay, why don't you want it anymore? What changed?
Because I love the communication. I love getting to know the people in a way that like, you know, I'm very much the artist in the scenario. You know, I'm kind of one of these people who's mildly antisocial off stage, and it's that classic conversation of people who are like, but you're not introverted, like I've seen you, but no, you don't understand, like it doesn't come naturally to me.
No.
Like it's like a thing, like when it's on, but most times I don't want it to be on. And so when I'm not on stage, it's hard for me to like have those conversations with people. It's hard for me to be social and cool in a room. That's it. And when I'm on stage, it's so much easier for me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed that I was actually so surprised by how different you are performing than you are in person, because I think, you notice that you're a lot more extroverted on stage. And I wonder, because I've experienced this in my own career, like when I first started performing, I can be really shy, and it's really hard to know what to say to people, like conversationally. Like, we're songwriters, we know what to say in the songs.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard to know what to say in conversation. So do you get the sense that you have like a separate performer, Matt, identity that's not the same as like sitting here in your apartment, Matt, or party, Matt?
I don't. I feel like, but now that you bring it up, I guess without thinking about it, there is that different person, because when you're on stage, I am doing a different thing than I would off stage. I'm in my head, they're not different people. But I've spoken to people about this, like part of coping with this industry and how crazy it is being able to separate the two, because otherwise you have no sanctuary. Right. Like if you can't separate the persona from the personal life, then you're always, which is something I battle with, is you're always dealing with like the downs. There's just like the highs and lows are always there, but the lows are more common if you're living the life versus, this is a person I can leave at work.
Got it.
You know what I mean? And that's something I think has value, but I've never separated. I don't have like a separate name. You know what I mean?
Right.
I never changed my name. I never did anything to like separate it. So it's very much me in my head. And I think that goes back to your original question, is like, this is what I want to build, this relationship with people. I know most of the fans' names, you know, and maybe that's telling of how few fans I have, but in my head, it's like, this is a relationship that I'm grateful for. And so I want to keep the conversation alive, not just you came to see me sing songs and I'm going to barely look at you, play all of them, get off stage and go on to the next city. Like, I don't know, for me, it's more of a engagement thing.
And how did the pandemic impact that? Like, I think the first time I saw you play music was on one of your 9:01 p.m. live streams. And it seemed like, I mean, by the time I tuned in, you had already a lot of momentum and like you had regulars. And that's something that a lot of artists, I think, struggle to find. Like, if I talk to people who are just starting out in singer-songwriter land, it's like, how do you get those regulars? How do you get those super fans who really come along for the ride of your career? So like, what did the pandemic teach you about maintaining that relationship with your fans, and what kind of fans you had?
Yeah. The pandemic just made it regular. I had started doing live streams before it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What was the impetus behind it?
I don't remember. It was just, I think maybe it was just having the medium. I feel like maybe, I don't remember the timeline, but I feel like maybe Instagram made it easier to do live streams. I'm not like a completely tech savvy person, so I don't have live stream capabilities to a certain degree.
I'd like to interject that for those that are just listening, Matt set up this session that we're recording right now, and it's, in my opinion, very high tech and very professional. different tech savvy. I'm not like video tech savvy. Got it.
So I don't understand how people, even now, as we speak, I'm still impressed by people who are doing Instagram live streams with proper audio. Like, how did that ever happen? I never figured out, I never looked it up. I never looked up how to make that happen.
I feel like you had to already have that capability. Like, I did really, I mean, not to pat myself on the back, but I did really good live streams in the pandemic. And it's because I had a manager who knew how to do it. Yeah. And he would come to my house and like set up a mic.
Right.
I don't know how you do it.
But what is there? And there's a piece in between?
What do you mean?
Like, what are you plugging the microphone into?
Okay, I guess the audio wasn't the best. Like something like this can, like the microphone.
Phone?
Yeah. Your phone mic can actually get pretty good quality.
Well, that's the thing. My phone mic was doing the job as far as I was concerned. Like, all I did was
just
press
like one of those little red crimson boxes, you know, the little preamp thing.
That's like this.
Yeah.
But how do you get that to? That's what my question is. How do you get the preamp to the phone to go live with you?
Okay, you actually have to do it, I think, through your computer to Facebook.
Yeah. And
here's also, where I say, those facts have fled my mind. Of course.
Here's where I say, fuck that.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to learn all that stuff just for, like, it's just me and a guitar, and my literally just pushing the record button, go live on Instagram, sounded great. No one had complaints about the sound, and I wasn't about to be like, this is going to be perfect. Anyway, I'd started doing them, and I did them at weird times. So I would do like I would post on an Instagram story like, hey, I'm going to go live tonight at 7:32, you know, that kind of thing, just to make it
People love
funny.
that shit.
Yeah, sure. And I don't remember why I started doing them, but I did them very infrequently. They weren't the same day and they weren't the same time. And then the pandemic made it regular. So like that's when it started. And I chose 9:01 because everybody was live streaming. So I figured it gives you a minute to get over to the next person. So somebody's live streaming at
really
8
funny.
o'clock. Like, oh, here you go. Like there's going to be done at, because I'll remember also Instagram cut it off in an hour. So
Oh, really?
that was back in the day when like it stopped it. So it turned you, it stopped your live stream no matter what after an hour. So I figured if people are doing
behavior.
an hour, eventually they fixed it. And then that was where that started. So they came, I have to give credit. I think it was Adam Duritz, from Counting Crows.
Yeah, we know who Adam Duritz is.
Well, not a lot. I'm just,
I think
just
it's a huge
giving
flex
the listeners-
our
the
listeners.
context.
Sorry, listeners, I'm bullying our guest.
I don't think
It's not the first time.
There's plenty of people who don't know who a lot of famous people are.
Okay, you're right.
But he says very nice things about me and in the past and present, and he brought a lot of people to me, and I think, and that was before we even went on tour together. So that was pre-pandemic, and then the pandemic making it regular, just all it did was fuel the fire. And so like they made it. It was appointment listening. It was just the way they do like ratings. You know, it was just people came every Thursday, and it was nice. And it was the same little group, you know, and they were wonderful, and they made their own T-shirts, and you know, it's really sweet. It was really nice. And so that's where a lot of that relationship comes from. That personal. There's something very intimate about looking into your phone and having all that relationship.
In 2013, you told the Huffington Post, I lived a whole other life before I decided to give all of my attention to music. During that time, there was a definite void that I couldn't quite place, and I think it made me a tough person to be around. Can you talk about that time? Do you feel like there was a period of time where part of your intuition was saying, I'm a musician, and another part was saying, no? Like, what was that conflict for you? What were the obstacles? And how did you finally give yourself permission to say, I'm a musician, this is what I'm doing?
First of all, excellent pull, going deep.
I do what I
That's
can.
great. 2013. Yes, and it's very true. That was my whole. I'm late to the party. I've been late to the party my whole life. And
You have a song about this.
which one? I think I
On the
have a
new
few.
album
Yeah,
about
yeah,
living too long because
the opening line
Yes.
of the record is very true to me. My entire 20s was, and I think this is how I even described it back then, but it's just, to me, it's just such a real feeling, like that itch you can't find, you know? I started playing guitar late. I was late teens when I started playing guitar. I didn't start really writing songs that were any good until I was 30. So my entire 20s, I had released music. You know, you'll never find it. I had performed, but not enough. And every time I performed, I would just beat myself up about how bad it was, even though it probably wasn't that bad.
Don't be so hard on yourself.
Exactly. But yeah, it was all just a time of knowing so certainly that this is what I wanted to do, but not being able to do it like well to my own standard, and being surrounded by people who were either in it in some form. I worked at a radio station that was very popular, so I was surrounded by people who were excelling, you know what I mean, pop stardom, which I never really wanted, but like still being able to see that it was like interesting from where I was, that was in a place of like, oh, I just want to do this with my life kind of thing. And then and you know, not being able to put pen to paper and make something that I was proud of for the longest time. And I was in a relationship during that time, and it was, you know, the trajectory was standard.
What do you mean by standard? Elaborate
Meaning
on
like,
that.
you know, it was just, we're in a relationship, we're going down we're hitting all the benchmarks, and it's destined for marriage, children, that life, which
Buy a house on the island.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that kind of thing, it just didn't interest me in deep down, you know what I mean? But, unfairly to her, I wasn't able to communicate that kind of thing. And so, you know, it went on longer than it probably should have, for both of us. And it was just a matter of time before I would explode. I was waiting for an opportunity and to write a fucking song that was decent. And that was what did it. It's so cliche, but like that's the catalyst. Like we broke up. I went through the depression. I finally wrote a song that was worth the damn. And I finally forced myself to go out and play it and meet people, which was such a hard thing for me to do for so long. And so that was, I'll never forget it. It was October. It was a month before my 30th birthday, 2010. And I went to an open mic for the first time, and it was one of the best nights of my life. Like,
what was the good song? And
it's a song
what was the
called-
experience?
So the reason it's a double-edged sword talking about this, because people always ask that, and it's the song I'll never play. Like, I don't play it anymore. It's so old. It's on the first record that I toy with pulling off the internet, but it's an important part of the story, so it will always live. It's a song called Jubilation and Jealousy. And it's just, and I had a couple of others that, I think I played 2 that night, but yeah, it was just, I finished the song and I thought, damn, I want someone to hear this for the first time ever. You know what I mean? Like, that was the first time I ever really wanted to do that. And I went and I had this, I had this new persona. It was that's what probably I was talking about in that article from Huffington Post, is that I just suddenly felt like a new person, and I wanted to introduce him to everybody. And I wanted to have this mystique. I think I went to the open mic, I had this beard at the time, and I had lost all this weight from the depression, and it's like one of those things where like you're this, I have cool new clothes and I was out in the scene doing the thing. That's it. It's,
Yes.
you have to see the photos to know the difference between the lives. But like, I was just in my mind, I was this dumpy, like 9-to-5 job, which it wasn't a 9-to-5 job, but it was like, I was going to work.
But symbolically, yes.
Yeah. And it was, and I just didn't have a sense of style, and, and all of a sudden, snap of a finger, and it's not all of a sudden, it was a decade, of like all this bullshit. So yeah, that was a major turning point. And so those are the 2 lives. And that night I just played for, I was there at the end of the night. I've told this story a million times, but I couldn't get to the sign up for the open mic because I had work. And so I called, it was called Cafe Vivaldi, which is no longer in existence. And, I made some of the most important friends of my life there, and it was one of the best times. I called the open mic, the cafe, and my friend Rachel, my friend now, answered the phone. And I remember saying, I can't make it to sign up. Like, is there any way you could like squeeze me in at some point? She's like, well, just come. And if you hang out to the end of the night, like in this time, we'll have you. And I stayed the whole night. And it was like, I got there probably 7:15. I think sign up was 6. And, I watched the room fill up and empty out and fill up and empty out and fill up. And all I wanted to do was play my fucking songs for the whole room. You know what I mean? And I waited and waited and waited. And finally, like 11:30, there's like 6 people left in the room. And she's like, oh, Matt's still here. Like, do you want to play? And at that point, it was like, there's only 6 people here. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to do it from my chair. Is that okay? Like, there's no need to go up to the stage. There's only 6 of you in here. And they're like, yeah. So everybody turns around and watch me, which like I didn't do on purpose, but it was a heavy moment because everybody turns around to look at me. I played, the owner of the place was behind me, and he's like, oh, do another one, please do another one. And I played, and I just left feeling like a king. You know what I mean? Like, I just left feeling like that's the feeling you're hunting for. I've been hunting for that feeling for over a decade. I've never felt that before. I'd never played a song to a reception like that. And it was 6 people,
Oh man,
and
I
like
remember
4
that.
of them
I'm
are
gonna
my
cry.
friends.
I remember that moment.
Yeah. 4 of them are now they're really close friends of mine,
I think you need to have that moment. Otherwise, you have to have a moment where you feel like somebody early enough in your musical journey that it can sustain you through all of the bullshit.
Yes.
Because there's so much demoralizing bullshit.
Still.
Truly,
it never
still.
goes. It never goes away.
I want you to talk about showing your work, because it's something that you've mentioned in interviews in the past, how like some people do try to cultivate mystique by sort of scrubbing their past, deleting social media posts, deleting songs, whatever it might be, to like curate a new identity each time they drop a new album. So can you like flesh out your ideology on like showing your work and being authentic?
I think at this point, I'm like, I even said it on tape 2 minutes ago. Like, I'm guilty of that too. There's an EP from another lifetime ago that it doesn't exist. You can't find it. Like, it won't. You're not going to find it. So don't look. But it's truly like it. I do think there's a place for that. Like at this point, for me to go back and erase the first record from this life, you know, if I'm separating my lifetimes into 2 lifetimes, the first record that signaled this one, for me to erase that, I think I'd have a hard time doing it, which is why I haven't done it, even though I want to. That is such an important piece to this story that for me to take it down makes me a hypocrite. And again, I don't think it's, you know, I'm not saying anything of anybody else. Do what is right to your story, right? But for me, I think to say how important it is to my persona, that showing the work and being that authentic person, for me to erase part of it is silly. I don't know. I just think we're all the same. Like there's nobody like, I don't know. Nobody's pulling songs out of thin air. Show us how you made that. Like that's helpful to people. You know, I think we're in this world of the mystique is gone. Then let's share. That's all, you know what I mean? Let's all share how things get done. Cause there's so much like confusion. There's so many songwriters now. There's so many people who can do it all from their home and put it out. And to an irritating degree, it's such a funny thing to like toe that line because we are those people, but also those people are annoying. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that's fair to have those feelings because some people need to be told that maybe this isn't for you. Yeah. You know, I like to think I'm not one of those, right? You know, but like in your back of your head, you're like, all right, well, what are the people who are on major labels thinking about people like me? Right. You know, like, so the voices in our heads are crazy, but I'm down to like share. I don't know if you follow the stuff I post online, but I'm often posting like my pictures of my lyric sheets with like pencil scribbles and stuff. They're literally right next to you, but oh yeah.
Do you type these on this typewriter? Yeah. I'm so glad we're doing this in person. I wouldn't have even known to ask that. Yeah. What's the story behind this typewriter? Guys, listeners, I'll share a photo of this typewriter on the Basic Folk Instagram. It's, I have always wanted to have a working typewriter that like fully worked. I had one that was like janky that I got at like a flea market once that like wasn't good enough to like do the project I wanted to do because like it didn't type in straight lines and some keys didn't work. And then Mike, funniest person I know for context, had bought one that I loved and he told me where he got it and I went and got one. And then I was able to follow through this part of my process is I write a song in my books, those little black books. I fill up those books and when I write songs in them, I don't feel like it's done until it's been typed. And then I type it and then I have a hard copy of lyrics. And then if it needs further editing, I edit in pencil on the typed sheet. And that's what we have. Like that's the song. To me, that's it's now an important part of the process for me. Yes. Because instead of like burying shit in my brain, I'm able to like see it in front of me neatly. Cause I have my handwriting, I may as well write with my feet. I want to go back to $1,000 Dinners, which is a great album. It sort of comes across as like a working man's folk rock album. Can you talk about how like your origins in Queens and your class identity shows up in that album and the sense of work? Is that a okay question?
It's an okay question. I don't know that I ever thought of it in those terms. But it is, the title comes from a funny story from my time at the radio station I worked at. And I don't know that there's much else about that record overall that revolves around that job. But that one song comes from that one moment. And that was just me being fed up with the industry I was in and the idea of working for someone kind of feeling. And I just had so much animosity towards like the higher ups and the corporate vibe. I was very low on a totem pole in commercial radio, and I was kind of a phantom who just like showed up, went to work, got paid very little for very few hours a day, for a lot of work. Like I did much more than I was paid. And at the end, it was just a trash place to be. Wonderful people. There are a lot of wonderful people. To say that doesn't negate their being. It's just the corporation overall was garbage. That I don't know. I don't think the rest of the record's really a lot of like, you know, sad bastard love songs, I think.
Yeah.
But that one has its ties in the corporations.
Yeah, well, the reason I asked about that is also the song "See You Soon."
Mm-hmm.
Like there's like a few different people thinking about the government.
Yeah.
In like a big picture sense. There's like these big ideas, and then there's the everyday pressures of living.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of my favorite tensions on that record.
Well, that's Don't Be So Hard on Yourself.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, right. That's on the next one.
Yeah.
This is why I shouldn't handwrite my...
No, it's great.
No, it's
That's
because
fine.
I put them in the same paragraph. But on Don't Be So Hard on Yourself, I was really like captivated by that line about sirens and silence. Is that like a 2020 moment? What was your sense of reality when writing that song?
I think it's a lot of phone in hand kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I think I go to that a lot now that I'm saying it out loud, but like all while our hands are tied down,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's basically just like my image whenever I'm singing that song, you know, to fight against the violence, the sirens and the silence,
Mm-hmm.
all while our hands are tied down, like all this stuff zooming past us and we're tethered to the phone, to the
Mm-hmm.
wall, and the phone is tethered to the wall. Like, you know, I want to say there was like a vision of people who are plugged into a random socket on a random wall somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like, you know, those people, we're all that person. Like I've been in an airport looking for an open outlet, but that I don't think that's exclusive to 2020. That was really just more the song in general. It's speaking to, you know, this lifestyle. Like I don't want to, I always say I'm going to leave, but I don't.
You're going to leave where?
Music.
What would you do?
I don't know.
Well, I hope you never find out. Can we talk about how Certain Vowels was made? I'd love to hear you talk about going from the notebook to the typed out page to the demo to that arrangement with the muted piano. It's a really particular sound. Walk me through.
Lyrically, I played a gig in Cambridge at a venue that I won't say because...
Tell me off air. I love gossip.
Because I despise the guy who books it. But I get off stage and someone who's in the audience who was also a musician came up to me and said she likes the way... She said, I like it's this the shape of your mouth when you said certain vowels. Is that she said. She's like, I love the shape of your mouth when you say certain vowels. And
I
was
would
like,
love to have that type of game.
Yeah, it was I thought it was such a beautiful compliment.
Yeah.
And I wrote it down immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's great. And so then I wrote this whole song around that
Mm-hmm.
that line and the little vignettes kind of thing. And then the recording, that was height of pandemic. So that whole record was just me and Jeff Fettig
Mm-hmm.
at the Creamery in Greenpoint. And we scheduled Sarah, Cold Stone, came in to play piano. We had a day for her to come in. We had a day for Nat Osborne to come in and play some organ parts. Everything else was kind of flown in. You know, Kiyoshi and Lily played guitar and sang harmonies, and they did all their stuff remotely, sent it. And so what happened with the whole muted piano thing, I love. It was Jeff's idea because the muted piano was great, but the way it's produced, I love because we really just suck out the room for her part. And it wasn't done in a way that was like planned for. It was just like I did the take, vocal, guitar, and we added to it. And then to give it like a little bit of like interesting character, when that moment comes in with that piano, basically the chorus, we just pulled out my guitar. And I must have had to re-sing it because my vocal and my guitar is live. So
The room noise would be so different.
So whoop, it's out, piano's in, and it's just like, I don't know, it's an interesting, it made for an interesting effect because it's almost like two different songs getting spliced together.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and you suddenly have this awareness of the negative space that's really grabs your attention.
Yeah.
I am curious, did you start singing first or playing guitar first?
As a person? Guitar.
Guitar.
Yeah, I just picked it up because, again, Scott, my Muppet connection, oldest friend, freshman year of college, he came home with one, and I was like, oh, I could do that. It's one of those, like, anything you could do, I could do better friendships, you know? And I had one in my house because my brother probably took like a class once. So we had a shitty beginner's Yamaha. And I started playing freshman year of college. I think I started singing sophomore year-ish. But yeah, it was never like, never any kind of like training. It was just like out of necessity. And then
what was the necessity?
We had a band in college. We had this, like, it was hardly a band. It was just a bunch of us on stage, like, making noise. And then I just kind of wanted to, there was no organization to it. It wasn't a band. We weren't like having band meetings. We weren't trying to write songs together. It was just kind of a zoo. And so after the summer break, I came home from a summer working out on Long Island, and I had grown my hair, and I think I had a newly acquired electric guitar, and I was just like, I'm gonna do this myself. And so I started singing, and I was like such a cliche, like just, white kid blues, like that's what I wanted. It was like, those were my idols at the time. Like,
we're not going to name names.
No. And it was just like, that's what it was. I didn't have any interest in really writing a song. I didn't really care about lyrics. For me, if a song didn't have a guitar solo, I didn't care. I don't want to hear it until, and this is honest to God truth, until This Desert Life by Counting Crows. That record came out the same year, 1999. And then that got me into, that was like a gateway to like Dylan and Springsteen, and, from there it just went, and Petty. And that was I don't think Counting Crows was a gateway to Petty. Scott has to get full credit for Petty, but like Adam Duritz was the reason I tried to write lyrics. Songs like Mrs. Potter's Lullaby, like, to me, whether I knew it at the time, I did not, but like the fact that song doesn't have a bridge is like one of the defining characteristics of some of my favorite of my own songs. Like, fuck a bridge. If you can't come up with a bridge, don't put it in there. You don't need to force one,
Let's talk about Holy Smokes. First things first, what do you think happens to us after we die?
I don't know. I think it's a dicey topic.
But really, like, what do you, Matt, personally think?
I think nothing happens.
Okay. And so what do you want done with your body when you die?
Burn me.
Burn, okay.
Yeah. Scatter my ashes wherever you think I want them scattered. Maybe by the time that happens, I'll want them scattered somewhere, but I think I take up enough space living, I don't think I need to be buried somewhere to, like, I think cemeteries are a little bit of a dated thing. Let's get rid of them. Look at all that land.
What the transition process is what's tricky.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Of converting cemeteries to...
No, it's done. What's done is done. We can't... No.
You can get in trouble with that.
Yeah. What's done is done. But I don't think we need to keep finding places to put dead bodies.
Yeah.
This is a dark topic. I don't know. I don't understand. Like, I get it. I don't want to knock anybody's beliefs and in that regard. But personally, I don't think I need to take up any more space when I'm gone. Okay. So let's get rid of me.
The sound of Holy Smokes is different than, I would say, I mean, the sound is different, and I'm getting the sense that the process was extremely different. Like your previous album, Don't Be So Hard on Yourself, a lot of parts were flown in remotely. Holy Smokes was recorded over like a very short period of time in one place, in one time, with a very small and limited group of people. Can you talk about Paul Lawrence studio? Can you give me like a crime scene vibe of like, what did the studio look like when you went in, and how did those conditions impact what we hear on the record?
Paul is one of the most buttoned up guys I've ever known. And we've worked together a lot over the past 10 years. And everywhere we've worked together, many different studios, it's always his gear. I'm always wildly impressed that he can move locations so easily. And I'm sure easy is not the word, but this was his first endeavor in Nashville. He moved, rented a house, moved all the gear, which is no small feat. And when I showed up, this is the first record being made for Five and Dime Records, like, in an official capacity, like that isn't Paul's. And the studio, it was the first thing to be done. So I walked in expecting it to be a little bit more ready than it was, but I wasn't concerned. It just was, there's boxes everywhere. There's there's wrapping, like plastic wrap for things that had just been shipped. And it's a house. So the live room is not huge. And it's also the control room. And then there's the living room, and it's the rest of the house. So we just figured out where the best place to go. I'm not a crazy, I don't have this, like, I don't like go snapping into corners, like looking for the best acoustics. I'm not one of these people. I'll set up a microphone.
God bless those people.
Like literally anywhere, and just to get the sound. And so we had me in the living room, for the most part. And yeah, he hired the musicians, and that was pretty much it. We had a band for 3 days. I was there for, I think, 16 or 17 total. Maybe that's too many. 12 or 13, I think.
For the whole record?
Yeah. So we came in, we had a day that we demoed for no reason. It really was just a matter of to make sure that I think everything worked.
But were you creating like scratch tracks with a tempo or no? No, we were just, we went in literally just to I think it was the idea of like, oh, let's maybe for added content. Yes.
Like here's an acoustic version of All the Same from the first day, or Give Love from the first day. And it was kind of a pointless day, but it was really just us like getting comfortable in the space, right? Whenever it was, we had Anthony DaCosta booked. He came in, it was one-on-one. We just did an acoustic day, just he and I. Paul and I were very, very pleased with Anthony and his playing. So we invited him back the next day, which is when we had bass and drums, Dom Billett and Will Honecker. And so that second day was the four of us, but we only had 8 channels because the mix, the console wasn't wired yet. So we had to go direct into the tape machine. So
do you think you would have done it to tape if not?
We were definitely doing it to tape,
yeah.
But we weren't able to go through the board and have like control over like all this stuff. So it was 8 channels into the tape machine, dumped into Pro Tools in like kind of a round robin way. And but so the idea, if we had the console, we would have been able to separate more tracks. We would have been able to have Paul play live with us. But when we had 4, I think max was four instruments. So Anthony had an amp mic'd. I had mic on my vocal and my guitar. Dom had, I think, maybe 3 or 4 mics on his drums, and Will went direct on bass. So when Anthony wasn't there, that was replaced by Paul on keys. And so whatever we needed to overdub, we did after the band left. So we did 3 days of full band tracking. We did about 17 songs. And then the rest of the time I was in Nashville, we added guitars that I needed to add, and vocal doubles and harmonies. And the only things that didn't happen in that specific time frame was some guest vocals, and Kathleen Edwards and Lauren Balthrop and Al Olander, and that was all just done separate after the fact.
I think you have an interesting like curatorial side as far as like the artists whose voices you highlight, like your Evangeline who played at your show, and you featured Kathleen Edwards. Like, what makes a great voice to you?
I think uniqueness. I think the same way like a person who, I don't know, like guitar playing is like when you hear a guitar and you're like, oh, that's Mark Knopfler. Like you know it when you hear it. And it's the same thing with the voice. Like, there's something to be said for people who are very specifically, think about like Emmylou Harris, right? Yes. Like the queen of harmony or of like guest vocals. Like, her the instant she opens her mouth. And that's just like something that I always want to have a little extra to me. Yeah.
You're not like trying to hire someone like an anonymous harmony singer.
Right.
It's I think it's often like a feature when it happens
right.
in your songs. Who is the speaker on Give Love and who is the you? Because there's some advice given, and who's who?
I think they're both me. Put me on the spot though. I'm trying to remember all the lyrics. It's just 9 out of 10 times it's me talking to me in all the songs, right? Like I'm never trying to be preachy to anybody else. It's really just trying to explain to myself the things that will ease my concerns. You know, what are you worried about? Yeah, that's definitely me talking to me. You know, just fucking relax. Open up a bottle of wine. Have yourself an existential crisis. You know, the dad joke is definitely me. Yeah, I don't think it's, you know, I wasn't creating a different persona in that song.
No. A thread that I feel like is running through not only your music, but our conversation now is how important it is not to preach to people. Everything that can go wrong when you try to explain yourself, talk face to face. What are the circumstances for you under which conversation works? Like, when is it the right thing to like talk about what you think?
I have no problem talking about what I think. I'm just always worried about insulting someone with what I think or hurting someone's feelings. You know what I mean? Like just the death thing a little while ago, you know, like that. I'm worried that someone's going to take offense to that, you know? And maybe that's just because I was raised Catholic. You know?
It all goes back to that. Yeah.
That's what I always blame it on, you know, like the guilt. I just worry that I'm, you know, I try to tread lightly. And I think I've been in enough conversations with people who maybe are a little poisonous in conversation to make you feel like you're being manipulative when you're not. I don't know if that's articulate enough, but like I've been in enough situations where I know that I've buried myself in a hole just by speaking my mind.
Yes.
And being like, wait a minute. How did I screw this up in this relationship? Like, what are you talking about? All I did was say the thing that, like, are you hearing me preaching to you? Because if that's the situation, then let's talk that out. You know, let's address my tone. Maybe, like, I don't know what you're hearing, but I'm not telling you how to live. You know, I'm just talking about what I think. And I think a lot of that comes, you know, people. I think I give off a very Queens, I'm walking here kind of vibe, you know what I mean? Like, I think I am very passionate about my beliefs in person. And I think that could maybe come off as intense. So I don't know. I try pretty hard to be unabrasive.
Do you feel like your gender identity plays into that? Like, you talked before about like not wanting to do like the white guy blues. And I sense something similar in like not wanting to be like a mansplainer. Is that off?
I definitely don't want to be a mansplainer. I mean, I don't know anybody. I do know people who do. Like,
I know people who do.
I do know people who do.
Oh my God.
And that upsets me. It's a self-awareness thing, I think, all it is. I think maybe I'd rather come off as overly self-aware than not. So if it's a detriment for me to be like the guy who's constantly concerned, I don't know. Fuck that. I'd rather be that person than you know, this like macho thing that I don't know. It boggles my mind that kind of self-awareness can be lacked, you know?
And with the internet, like, we're so aware. I feel like there was a time when there were really like self-important assholes all around us and you might run into them at work or at the grocery store or whatever, but you wouldn't have like pages and pages of their personal beliefs like available to you on your phone.
Exactly.
And now we just like know everyone's worst opinions.
Yes. And I think, you know, there's something that I'm learning, especially in current times, is that it's just trying, like, I could be so judgy. I really could be. And I know that about myself, but
you're a Scorpio and we'll never know. It'll just be under the surface.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm pretty open about my judging. I'm pretty openly judging.
Well, I guess that you have like a Queen's rising if it's Scorpio sun.
I think that people who I'm close, if I'm comfortable around you, then I'm happy to be judgy around you. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be that way always, because it's ugly. But man, I mean, and I hate to quote myself. Is that embarrassing? But
no, quote yourself.
In my own song, like, if I think you got it coming, I could be a son of a bitch, and that's true. That's about me, you know. Like I'm not. Nobody's perfect, but if I think you got it coming, man, I'm gonna be an asshole to you. Like, I don't think. My mother used to say, and she still does, kill him with kindness. That's her thing. Kill him with kindness. Kill him with kindness. My whole life, she would say, kill him with kindness, and I think that's such a great quality. People who could be always kind all the time. No, man, if you piss me off, you're like it's a Sicilian thing, you know. Like, no way. If you burn this bridge, you got to do a lot of work to get it back together.
That's the most Scorpio thing I've ever heard. Yeah. Well, you kind of have to be that way to be a songwriter, because you have a song where you say like, don't talk shit about your exes or something.
Yeah.
But I think you end up...
can. No,
can?
Yeah. Do whatever you got to do to get the thing. That's the whole purpose of that verse. Right. It's like, do what you got to do to get through this.
Yeah, I think it's good to sometimes like burn a bridge and like write the worst thing you could imagine. Even if you don't release that song, writing it down can help. I want to know about your walking and running. Who are you in your mind? Like, what's the state of mind while you're on the move? And is it similar to your performing self?
I think it's similar to my younger self. I am. It's probably borderline unhealthy. The person I am when I'm running, but it's the most therapy like I can get is being in my head for that long without a phone in my hand. So it's very hateful. It's a lot of self-hate. But I was a runner in high school, and I was never good enough to be really top of the line, but it was enough to like get the bug. And then I didn't run for like 20 years. The pandemic really brought it out in me, and I found it again. Like for me, the reason why I never did it for the longest time was because I had this standard of how fast I needed to go and how far I needed to go. And then that was erased. The pandemic forced me out of the house to get out of the house, first of all, alone, which I'm excellent at. And then all of a sudden I would just tell myself, which is counter to what I'm saying, but I would be kind to myself about the distance. Like, just go however, this is not a race. Just do what you need to do, get the run done, and come back. But in the grand scheme, the beating yourself up starts to like pile up, and it's who I was then and it's who I am now when I revert back to that person. So it's not who I am on stage these days. But maybe when I was in my past life, I would play shows and I would hate myself for every little mistake. You play one wrong chord, something goes wrong. I would live with it for a week. I would relive the show and be so angry at that that it wasn't good enough. Yeah, that's me reverting to that person, I think, when I go for a run. But now I'm on stage, I'm the happiest. That's absolutely my most comfortable place.
How did you get there? Asking for a friend.
I just think knowing that it's experience. Like having been to those situations where it sucked and I hated myself for it, coming out of it okay. And I think just believing in the songs. Like back then I didn't believe in the songs, right? I wasn't able to tell the story. I wasn't able to, if you're on stage singing to somebody a thing and you don't even believe it, then what the fuck are they hearing? Right. So something changes when you're writing something that you believe. I'm telling it in the truest way I can tell it, even though sometimes I'm thinking about what I'll have for dinner that night, I'm still telling it in the truest way I can tell it, and it's coming off confident because it's confident.
Right.
And I don't care if I fuck it up. There have been times where I've forgotten complete verses, and I don't get mad anymore at that kind of thing. That I've known that also as an audience member, I love that shit. When that happens on stage, that's for a better show.
I toured with Sam Beam. I don't think he would mind if I said this, but like every other night there was like half a verse he would forget, and it was the swaggiest shit you can imagine. Because also when like the whole audience can sing your discography back to you, I think there's also like a really useful removal of ego in those moments where you don't necessarily have to be confident about yourself, but you can be confident about your work. And that's like a backdoor into acceptance.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Okay, would you like to do a lightning round? Everyone listen to Matt's new album. It's so good. It's so humane.
Thank you.
It's hopeful. Okay, let's do a lightning round.
Sure.
Don't think too hard about it. Gut instinct. What is your favorite holiday?
My favorite holiday? Christmas.
What is one song you wish you wrote?
Oh my God. Good question. Oh no. I can't even think of titles right now.
We'll skip it. We can come back to it. What fictional character would be the best companion for you on a road trip?
That's a great question. Fozzie Bear.
Oh, yeah. If Mabel, your dog, could talk, what would her first words be?
Are we going outside?
What is your favorite Tom Petty song?
Angel Dream.
What is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Coffee.
What is the best time of day to write a song?
Morning.
Who is your celebrity crush?
Big Rachel Weisz person.
That's my celebrity crush.
Is that right? Wow.
I saw The Mummy and I never recovered.
Beautiful.
She's so mysterious.
Yeah. I think she's
She's
great.
very mysterious.
I think she's great.
What is the best age to be?
42.
What is your most useful non-musical skill?
Helping people move.
Okay, swinging back around. One song you wish you wrote.
I'm gonna go way back. I don't know that I feel this way anymore, but it is still one of the songs I wish I wrote. I've always Ray LaMontagne's Jolene.
Oh God.
I just think that is a perfect, like, the imagery, everything about that. But that's like back in the day when I used to go to sleep listening to music, you know? That was probably my most listened to song ever on iTunes because it was the first song on that playlist that I would press play before I went to bed. You know, it's like one of those kind of things. So yeah, that song just kills me. It's one of the 6 I could play on piano too.
It's like, it kind of crumples you up because of the way the chord progression and it's so sad.
Picture you holding a picture of me in a pocket of my blue jeans.
Woo! That's so romantic.
What a
And
line.
that's these typed pages I'm touching. A picture of you holding a picture of me. Okay, Matt Sucich, you've been a wonderful guest.
Thank you, Lizzie. No.
I love Holy Smokes. Everyone go buy it.
This episode of Basic Folk was produced by John Nungesser. Alex Stanton composes our music. Basic Folk is on the Bluegrass Situation Podcast Network. Find all of our episodes there. You can search for us on the SiriusXM app under Basic Folk. You can go to our website, basicfolk.com, or you can find us wherever you get podcasts. Thanks for listening all the way to the end. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.